Welcome back to the Centered on Buffalo podcast, brought to you by Dan-O Seasoning. If you go to Dan-O Seasoning right now, you can get a 13-pack of their premium seasonings for just $65 if you use the code BUFFALO. We'll have a link to that in the show notes. They are going to make you the star of your tailgate this fall. Make sure you try them out. Dan-O's is my favorite seasonings on the market. Go check them out, danoseasoning.com. Yum, yum, get you some. All right, this week's episode, we got Sal Capaccio back on the podcast. Can't wait to get back on the call with him this weekend against the Giants. We're going to have some fun breaking down that first episode of Hard Knocks, which I'm assuming most of you guys saw, but we're going to break that episode down, what we saw from it, maybe some funny moments, stuff that stood out. We're also going to touch on the James Cook situation, the injury situation with the Bills, and we're going to talk about a few standouts that we've seen so far and whether or not we think the starters are going to play this weekend against the Giants. Enjoy the podcast and go Bills.
Hit us up on all social media at The Buffalo Pod.
Sal, welcome back on the podcast, brother. I see you're live at St. John Fisher for those that are tuning in on YouTube right now. I know you were tuned in to Hard Knocks last night. And look, the episode starts off, it's the guys getting packed for training camp, which my wife made a comment about how she never necessarily helped me pack for training camp, but maybe that was staged a touch. But one of the guys they featured was Dion Dawkins getting packed up for training camp. Really cute scenes with his kids and all that with his family. But they focused a lot about him drifting, and he said it was a Buffalo thing. Have you ever been drifting, Sal?
No, I think we call it pogying in the winter when you, I'll have to tell myself here, you grab the bumper and someone goes in the snow. It's kind of like jet skiing, but it's with your heels on the snow as they go forward.
Yeah.
I have never done that. I'm not like big into like race cars and stuff, to be honest with you. So that would not be something that I've ever thought of doing.
Yeah, and in our contracts, we have to sign off that we're not going to do, ride on motorcycles or maybe go skiing in the winter. But I guess drifting hasn't made its way into NFL contracts yet. One of the focal points last night was Tre'Davious White, which I loved, former teammate of mine. I love that they're featuring him and showing off his personality. I mean, how great of a light did Trey White get shined on him last night?
I thought it was amazing. When we went into this thing, people said, who's a guy that, was going to be under the radar, that people are going to learn more about, they're going to focus on. And I said, I don't know about under the radar, but I could really see a Trey White kind of storyline here. This is the redemption arc of Trey White, right? That's what it really is. Coming back to Buffalo after these injuries, a year away, he comes in. Oh, by the way, not only are you back here, we're going to overdraft, draft someone in the first round to compete with you. And now he has to go out there and compete for his job. But now because of the injury, Max Harrison, obviously you can predict, and it's unfortunate. I thought Trey obviously would be a focal point in some capacity. I think it's going to be even more than I probably thought it would be coming in. And yes, his personality is perfect for something like this. And I think it's going to be a really good, insightful look into a guy that's been here since Sean McDermott and Brandon Beane arrived to kind of really show and highlight what this organization is about.
Yeah, he was Sean McDermott's first draft pick. Right. And, to me, I love the fact that we have him back. He looks great right now. Hopefully he can keep that going. I mean, him running hills after practice was so good. And I'll say this, sometimes I would imagine guys are showing off for the cameras and they're trying to say, hey, I worked this hard. Trey White's always been that guy. I don't know that I saw him on those hills after practice, but I also wasn't running hills after practice. I was hopping into the cold tub as soon as I could, trying to recover, and he's out there getting that extra work in. We also have to do different things on the field. No surprise, Josh Allen was a big focus in the first episode. I'll say this. I would like them to see them get into Josh's funnier side, which I assume we'll see. But Josh has got an incredible personality. He is a jokester. I would expect to see a little bit more humor coming from him in future episodes.
Oh, I think so too. And they focused a little bit on, there were some funny moments, right? And Josh, I think probably was, funny here or there, but it was really more about Josh Allen, the superstar this episode. It was more about Josh Allen, the MVP, Josh Allen, the culture fit in Buffalo, how much he's beloved by this fan base, right? That was really what this was about. Probably a little bit more of the funny side of Josh as we go on. I'm sure we're going to see a little bit of that. I thought the funniest part of the episode last night was KJ Hamler on the kid scooter. That was
Yes.
hilarious. And he's like, I got the wrong scooter. And he's, by the way, he's a really funny guy. If you know KJ Hamler, he's the perfect personality for something like that, for a little bit of a kind of a laugh, on the episode. So I think you got a good insight. I mean, there were things. I mean, how about AJ Epinesa and the snake?
Yep, that was one of the
Holy
things I wanted to get
cow.
to. I mean, an
Go ahead.
11-foot python, and I like how he said, "Yeah, they're not poisonous. These are constrictors." So that's a guy who's done it before. That's a guy who's familiar with snakes. I want no part of going around the Florida Everglades
No.
looking for pythons. But hey, I got a newfound respect for him now.
And I think we should have a new nickname for AJ Epenesa. Snake or Python. What do you think? We should just come up. That should be his nickname.
Yeah.
I wouldn't doubt if people in the locker room now are seeing him the next day, today. He's walking into meetings today and they're like, yo, what's up, Snake?
Yeah, I could see Chris Brown maybe working this into one of his
Yes.
taglines for this year. We'll see. We'll see if he's got something in regards to that.
The snake. I can see it right now. I'm going to tell Chris if he has a big sack, the snake with a sack, right? Something like that.
Yeah, or is it like he wrangled him like a python? It'll be some type
That's
of
exactly right. See, that's why Chris does what he does. You're right about that.
yeah, it'll be some type of reference to it. I could see it coming this fall. I thought the Christian Benford stuff, you're not going to get a whole lot out of Christian Benford, but
No.
seeing him pray with Max Harrison afterwards, and him being out at the Pittsburgh Dairy and all that, I thought that was good to show a little bit of him. But you're not going to get a whole lot from Christian Benford. He's going to continue to be our silent superstar, and I think he's fine with being that silent superstar. I mean, that's one of the best contracts I believe Beans has ever signed, considering what the cornerback market has done and what Christian Benford has produced on the field since being drafted in the 6th round out of Villanova.
Yeah, I think financially you're right. And let's remember, his contract really doesn't even kick in until next year. Yeah, there's some money this year as a part of it because it's a 5-year deal, though. He has 1 year left in his rookie deal and then 4 more years. And Eric, as of right now, even before that, he's only the 19th highest paid corner in the league. By the time like 2 years into his deal, he's going to be like 35th highest paid probably, because guys are going to start jumping him, right? Which is incredible when it comes to the value. And what I think is really cool, and people are seeing a little bit about Christian Benford, is you're right. He's so quiet. He is a star on this team as far as how good he is. He is so serious about football and what he does. It means a lot to him, and his teammates mean a lot to him. He's like the perfect type of team captain who, you need a lot of different kinds of leaders, right? You know this. You need the rah-rah leaders. The guys are going to give up those fiery speeches, right? Kyle Williams was like this, no doubt. You're going to need those guys. You're going to need the guys who everybody knows they can go to that guy and talk to him about anything in life, like a Lorenzo Alexander in your locker room. And then you need the quiet leaders who they just go out there and every single day they do everything right and lead by example, and that's Christian Benford.
Absolutely. And they got the outspoken guy in Terrell Bernard on defense.
Yep.
And yes, you're right. It would not surprise me to see Christian Benford be a captain this season. Maybe the Bills stray away from just the 2-captain look this season. So a couple of things that stood out to me. In the first team meeting that we saw with Sean McDermott, guys are allowed to wear hats now.
Ooh.
That was an absolute no-no in 2017. Guys are allowed to wear hats in meeting now. And Keon Coleman had his hood up. I think Sean McDermott would have kicked somebody out of our meeting rooms if they had their hood up.
Really?
And it just shows kind of the relaxed nature of Sean now, how he's kind of evolved as a head coach, and just, I don't want to say letting things slide, but not being as worried about some small stuff because you got a great culture, you got a great locker room set up. And he also did not. So you mentioned the KJ Hamler scooter scene.
Yes.
The first thing I thought was Sean would never let us ride on anything at training camp. And we're coming from Rex Ryan, where it was, I think Rex rented me a golf cart for me to drive around some of the offensive linemen to save our legs throughout training camp. And then all of a sudden Sean came in and he was like, absolutely not. No one's riding around. No one's getting hurt. And now they're, on scooters. But I mean, the commutes around St. John Fisher are not that far. But when you've practiced, when you've done walkthroughs, when you've done workouts, being able to save your legs a little bit, that has some benefit. And I'm glad to see Sean coming around on those couple things. All right, let's touch on one thing with training camp right now. We're going to touch on two things. First off, I believe these are the two biggest storylines right now are the injuries. How concerned are you about these injuries that seem to be stacking on both sides of the ball for the Bills?
Very concerned. I mean, when you hear Sean McDermott say they have to, they generally try to adjust some practice plans, and they can't even really do that enough now because they don't have enough players. We have to get out there and play, though. We have to get out there and play, right? And it's just like you can't do that. You got to get these You got to get ready for a game. You got to get ready to evaluate. So I think the organization is concerned about the number of bodies that are available at practice. It's not, when I say concern, right? Yes, there's a concern of how will this impact the player in the season, right? But Eric, they don't have these massive injuries that are weeks long, except for Max Harrison and Khalil Shakir, and we hope both are all right. Maybe even by the opener, right? Which would be
Right.
great. So these aren't into the season necessarily. It's really just that. So you have that concern. The other concern is just preparing to play football, preparing your team, getting the reps that you need, having enough bodies to practice. You can't have Keon Coleman taking every rep, out here at wide receiver because Khalil Shakir and Curtis Samuel are out, right? So everybody's got to elevate up. I mean, Josh Allen was throwing to Stephen Gosnell in practice the other day. That's where they are right now. And that's not a knock on Stephen Gosnell, but that just shows you on the depth chart where guys have to bump up because of what's going on with the injuries. Thankfully, they got a couple of guys back, Terrell Bernard and Spencer Brown a couple of days ago. And then Balin Spector, it seems like just every year he has an issue of some sort, and he was really playing well, I thought, here at camp and making a case to be that backup Mike linebacker, but now he's hurt with a calf injury. He's out too. Dorian Williams is still out. Cedric Van Pran Granger is still out. Tyler Bass is still out. Eric, I don't know if they're going to kick a field goal or kick an extra point during the game on Saturday because Tyler Bass has not kicked a ball in 2 weeks.
I know. And I guess Ray Davis will do it if they need to, or it's going to be interesting because you could just go for 2 and it's not that big of a deal on the kickoffs though. Okay.
Oh yeah.
Do you have one of the punters do it? I mean, you just got to figure out how that's going to work throughout the game if you don't want to play Tyler Bass. The 2 biggest injury concerns I have right now, Harrison, I would love to be getting these training camp reps. As a rookie, these are so valuable, missing preseason time. That's going to be tough. I mean, it's a change in speed getting to training camp. It's a change of speed to the preseason games and then a change of speed to the regular season. And I know he played SEC football, but it's a different level. And I would love for him to be getting those reps. And then also Cole Bishop. He missed all of training camp last year with the shoulder, and we saw that affect him throughout the season. We heard about how tough it was for him, not getting those training camp reps and then to not get those again when I feel like this could have been a potential breakout year for him. I hate the fact that he's not getting those reps out there. The other big storyline at training camp's been James Cook.
Yep.
He came, he participated, now he's holding out. Do you see them getting a deal done with James Cook here soon, or do you think Brandon Beane holds strong and says, look, we're gonna let you play this as season out and then we'll see?
Well, I think Brandon Beane will hold strong because I don't think Brandon Beane's going to suddenly say, well, I'm going to rise up to whatever number James Cook wants. I think that, as Brandon Beane says, it takes 2 to tango. And I'm not putting this all on James Cook, but there has to be some middle ground for that to happen. So do I think they'll get a deal done? I really don't know. That's very tough for me to say. Kyron Williams signs his deal, 3 years, $33 million, 23 guaranteed. I think most people agree that'd be a good kind of landing spot for James Cook. But do the Bills feel that even over $10 million a year is worth it to pay him? Not that he's not worth it, but how they structure their team, what they value. They're paying their quarterback so much, and their left tackle, their right tackle, their edge rusher, a corner, right? So you have to think about it that way. And then what about James Cook? I mean, is he willing to come down from what looks like he wants 15 or plus million, right? Because that's kind of the numbers that's been floated out there. He told us feels he's the best back in the league, wants to be paid amongst the best backs in the league. So I don't know if they come to a deal. There's been some reporting saying that maybe they're closer than people thought because, that's why he's having his hold in right now to get this over the finish line. And maybe that's correct. But when Brandon Beane was on WGR with Jeremy and Joe the other morning, the day after his hold in started for James Cook, I didn't get the sense of that. I got the sense more so that they're still kind of, where they are. And there's really been nothing changed since what we heard from February and March and April.
Yeah, I heard the same thing you did. And look, I feel for James Cook in this situation because he's likely got his agent who's much older than him, much more experienced in this industry, telling him, hey, this is how you get deals done nowadays. So now you're going to have to, bear the brunt of it. Just say, business. And so he's getting that advice off the field. I went through 2 contract negotiations during training camp, and I can tell you those are stressful. Now, I went out and practiced each day because me and my agent came to that agreement that I was not going to sit out. I was going to go out there and practice and just be the player I am. And look, that's how I'm going to go about my business. The first time I was coming off an ACL the year prior, and look, I had sleepless nights. I had to get prescribed to sleeping pills because it's weighing on you when you're especially going into your first big contract. I mean, that's life changing money that you're leaving on the table each and every night, and it's so tough to say, okay, well, we're turning this down right now. I mean, this could literally change me and my family's life. And so that weighed on me pretty heavily, but we got the deal done after our last preseason game against the Lions. We got smoked, and I get a call after the game. Hey, let's get this deal done tomorrow. I said, all right, we can get this deal done. You know what we want. And then the second time, heading into my final season, which I didn't think was going to be my final season, the only time I thought about maybe sitting out was we were playing the Ravens in the third preseason game. We were going to get a lot of work, and that was going to be a touch more risk than necessarily going out to practice and whatnot. I ended up signing the contract in my
I'm like, didn't you actually sign the day of that though? I remember that was the night that we said, hey, Garrick Wood just signed a contract extension.
Yeah, and I legitimately had a conversation with Brandon Beane in the hotel that day. I said, hey, Brandon, if we don't get this deal done by the time the game starts, are we on the same page that maybe I don't play tonight, just with everything on the table? And he said, yeah, that won't affect. We had a man-to-man conversation about it. This wasn't my agent calling.
So was he okay with that?
Yeah, I mean, he said, hopefully we can get it done. I mean, we're at the finish line. We have the numbers were set. We're working on little details. And then I go out and play in the game and separate my shoulder that game, which as an offensive lineman, you could play through it and whatnot. But I did separate my shoulder during that game. And not that would have affected the contract negotiations, but after the game, we laughed about it a little bit, and I didn't miss any practice time or anything. Let's take a moment to hear from one of our podcast partners, and that is Waterboy. These are my favorite hydration packets out there. This is my favorite. The workout hydration has a little glutamine in there as well. These things have kept me hydrated all summer long. They'll keep you hydrated all fall long. During those hot tailgates, they will keep you hydrated, and also maybe a little recovery on those Monday mornings after a big Bills game day or whatever team that you follow. Go check them out at waterboy.com. All right, let's get to the rapid fire questions brought to you by Dano's Seasoning. Number one, is there a path for Terrell Shavers to make this team at receiver?
There is a path, but the path might have to include, unfortunately, other guys getting injured. I just don't know if he can crack the top 5 outside of that unless the team just feels that they have to move on from Curtis Samuel because of the injuries or because of the lack of availability. He is, to me, still number 6. But look, I think there's other guys there really showing up well. I think Christian Wilkerson has looked good. Under the radar guy. And I think Jalen Virgil has looked good. So there is a path for Tyrell Shavers. I just think it's still tough.
Yeah, I do too. And it's going to be fun to see how this plays out throughout the preseason because, someone's going to be the star of the show in these preseason games. And we'll see which receiver it ends up being. Javon Solomon's caught a lot of buzz early on in training camp here. Do you see him making an impact on the Bills defense this fall?
I do, from a standpoint of I think they're going to use him situationally, and he's going to be a guy they're going to rely on to get to the passer a few times. I like what I've seen, what I saw last year. I like what I've seen from him out here so far during training camp. So I do think he'll make an impact because if you're on the team as a defensive end, you're playing. I mean, there's a rotation that goes on this team. And, I think he gets a jersey on game day and therefore he'll play and he'll have to make some plays.
Yeah, I think so, especially because Michael Hoyt will be out these first 6 games. Right. And that leads a path to him being on the roster. And then we'll see after those first 6 games how that rotation plays out. All right, last one. Trends have kind of shifted now with 3 preseason games and whatnot, where starters are playing more early in these games, early in the preseason, as opposed to waiting till that 3rd preseason game. Do you think we see the Bills starters this week against the Giants? And the reason I ask is because Brandon Beane and Joe Shane are great friends. Maybe there's an agreement like, hey, we don't touch each other's quarterbacks, or let's not throw some heavy blitzes at the quarterbacks. Do you think the starters play this week?
It's always tough. Sean's done it a lot of different ways. Last year, Josh Allen did play in the first preseason game against the Chicago Bears. He was scheduled to play in the second preseason game, but the field got wet beforehand against the Steelers, so he didn't play in that one. The messaging has been, we don't know yet, right? So as I talk to you right now, I just think it's super up in the air. I will tell you, I've also spoken with people from the Giants who say they're in the same boat. They've received no indication from Brian Daboll if the starters are going to play.
Yeah. Okay. So we'll wait and see. Can't wait to get on the call with you this weekend. Always appreciate your time. Thank you for making the time from St. John Fisher this morning, Sal. See you soon, brother.
You got it, buddy. Thanks.
Absolutely.